Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa. If you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. It is Sunday and I have just gotten back from our 2-monthly-ish grocery haul yesterday. Now, I took the morning to get last week's video out so that I can start working on the grocery video. We had leftover hot dog rolls with bacon, lettuce and tomato for lunch, some cheese and avo and mayo. And I was about to start working on dinner, which is going to be the crispy chow mein noodles, which I always buy and we have for the first or in the first week of groceries, because I buy the bok choy to have with it and the crispy noodles, and it's just a treat meal in that first week of new groceries. And when I was thinking of that, I was thinking about the fact that the broccoli and the zucchinis need to get in the fridge. And last night we put as much in the fridge as we could easily, but it's not arranged very well. So one of the things that are in the fridge that really needs to come out ASAP is the strawberries. The strawberries will have gotten warm on the back of the ute and then cold again once we get home, and they will not last very long. There'll already be some ones that aren't great in there because of that fluctuation in temperature, which is fine, because we're going to freeze the majority of them. There's plenty of other fresh fruit to eat, and any that are a bit bruised, so long as there's no mold or anything, we'll just go into a bag with all the tops and we'll use that to make a strawberry syrup or cordial. So it's already 4:20, but we had a late lunch, so I think I'm gonna get those. There was 8 kilos all up of strawberries, but I don't know how much the kids have eaten over the span of today because they're allowed to access them initially until I get them sorted. But whatever they haven't eaten, I think I'm going to process so they can get those flats out of the fridge. I can get the broccoli into veggie containers as I'm making dinner, and the zucchini box in the fridge until I sort that out in the next couple of days. That's the plan anyway for the beginning of these busy sets of parts of the week. Alright, so the berries come in 500 gram tubs. Now, I know I get controversial for every time I do it, but I'm not washing them. By washing them, I'm introducing water. I don't have time to dry them properly or a way to dry them properly. And berries have a tendency to, they're a fragile thing, and washing them can mean they break down quicker. If there's water on them and they're going in the freezer, then they don't freeze as well, and all these other things. And it's my kitchen, my choice. And in the end, it is just one I make. But I know that because I'm getting them straight out of the punnet, someone would have said something anyway, so I may as well address it. I'm going to cut them off. I'm taking any of the green bits with the tips because, as I said, I'm going to turn these into strawberry cordial, so they will get boiled up to make strawberry cordial. And all of these bits are being frozen, so you want the sweetest, ripest bits. I may keep a punnet or two out with the intent to make brownie tomorrow, and we can have, and maybe some more ice cream. We can have brownie, ice cream and strawberries tomorrow or the next day, because they're actually holding up better than I expected. They're a nice big firm berry. They are winter berries rather than summer ones, and I do find that the winter berries sometimes aren't quite as sweet, but they do have a better texture on them. That bodes easier for this sort of thing. Like, they tend to just hold a little bit better because they are looking quite good. I don't know what they taste like. The kids have had some. Definitely on the tartar side. Not bad though. Really good texture. So these will freeze really nicely. The strawberry top syrup or cordial or whatever I make out of it will have plenty of strawberry flavour, but yeah, probably a little bit on the tart side. That one's a little bit too far gone, but that was one out of the whole punnet. That's really not bad. So, one down, a whole lot to go. But what I might do is leave that punnet there to pull out some of these nice looking firm ones, as I said, and we'll do brownie with vanilla ice cream and strawberries for dessert, maybe tomorrow night. So let's have a good look. pull out some really, they do look really good even after having sat on the back of the ute in the Costco car park, because that's the main thing, is there's not only the drive home, but there's the 2 hours that we're at Costco that sits on the back. I did have a double layer of netting over it, so sort of like a shade cloth, but still, it's just the heat in general, not just the sunlight, that would have impacted them. So I'll get these done. The kids will eat them straight out of the freezer like this, or they get used in smoothies, or they get turned into strawberry sauces or whatever for other things. I don't mind how they're used. Just a matter of getting them into the freezer so that they are usable, because if I don't, they will go bad. So I'm just going to keep on going. I just had a thought that if I'm going to make ice cream tomorrow anyway, I might macerate a pint of strawberries as well, and then I can blend that and mix it through a couple of pints. Like if I do that amount, it'll probably be enough to add flavour to 2 different pints, sort of thing. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that there. I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of sugar in that and a little bit of lemon juice, and I'm going to put that in the fridge overnight, and we'll use that in the Ninja Creamy tomorrow as well. So yeah, I'm just keeping on going, but I just thought of that. I'm going to do some macerated strawberries to have in a strawberry ice cream. So I'll do the standard custard base, but I will blend the strawberries through before I freeze it. I think that will be a good option to get a really nice, bright, properly strawberry ice cream. That'll be yummy. So yeah, I'm just keeping on going. I put 4 full punnets, so about 2 kilos, back in the fridge to be eaten. I've got these 2 full trays to go in the freezer that Darryl doesn't eat before it gets to the freezer. And I've got this container of the strawberry tops, so I'm going to stick that in a freezer bag to go in the freezer to make strawberry syrup from later. I ended up filling 2 of these pints up with the strawberries to make some macerated strawberries with for the ice cream, just because I had it. So I've just got about, it's a third of a cup measure here. And then I'm going to get Darryl to grab me a lemon off the table, please.
I'm a bit busy.
Yep. While you're eating the strawberries that you're stealing, could you grab me a lemon, please?
Right.
And just on the table, on the end of the table.
The big yellow things?
And I'll squeeze half a lemon over each of these, put lids on them, and put them in the fridge for today, and we'll pull them out tomorrow. Get these in the freezer to flash freeze, these in the fridge, and then all the strawberries done. This was all that there was waste-wise, so they were holding up really well. That doesn't mean that if I came to them tomorrow or the next day, they would still be that good, so it was worth doing today, but still. Alright, so I bought just a bag of lemons. I'm going to make some lemon curd and stuff, but we will use fresh. These are quite tough. I decided not to buy too many lemons this trip, even though they were cheap, because I didn't really think I'd have the time to process them, and I've just remembered that I brought Mum's electric juicer home when she moved, so I probably could have, but anyway. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of the pulp in there as well, because I like the lemon strawberry factor, so we're going to do that. There wasn't a huge amount of juice, but it should be fine. The strawberries will create their own. So half a lemon. Very thick skinned. And I'm just going to grab a bit of the pulp without any pith to go in there as well. And we're going to stick them in the fridge overnight. We'll use them tomorrow. Strawberries done. I'm going to start dinner. I'm going to need broccoli for dinner tonight. Darryl did find me all the containers for the broccoli, but I may just put the lid back on it and just use what I need for tonight and finish that up tomorrow, because it's already 5:10, but I wanted to get those strawberries done. So I'm going to cut up some chicken and get that put aside so it comes down to room temperature a bit before we're frying it off, because it just fries off better that way. And then I'll get all my veggies and stuff together to do the fried noodles. Cooked off the chicken, cooked off all the veggies, added the sauce, let it thicken up, fried off the noodles, and this is our crispy chicken noodle stir fry that we have in the first week or so of the new grocery period, one of our favourite dishes of ours. It is Monday morning. It did not get as cold last night, which is good. It got down to negative, I don't know if I mentioned, it got down to negative 7.5 the night before. Some of the carrots that were left on the table froze, so, you know, things like that. It's now Monday morning. It is 9:45. I have printed all the kids' schoolwork stuff that they need for the next couple of days, got them set up in front of their screens for their first lesson. Their first lesson starts at about 9:32. So they're doing English live lessons at the moment. Darryl has D&D this morning, so he plays from about 8 till about 12. A game of he DMs a game on every second Monday morning. So he's doing that. So we need to figure out what we've got to do now. Because I did that crispy noodle stir fry last night, I did it in the cast iron pan, so I've just added some water to those two pans so that I can bring them up to a boil to give them a scrub out and a re-oil and clean, ready to go for whatever I need to do. Because the cornstarch slurry sauce in the bottom it needs to be scrubbed out. That's what happens when you do certain things. Certain things that I cook in there, they just need a scraping like a barbecue, but certain things, they need a proper scrub out. So that's what we're going to do. I have to get all that broccoli into the veggie containers. I've got the ice cream that I want to get done today so that I can use up those macerated strawberries. I forgot to put my starter in the fridge before I left on my trip, so it's got a bit of a skin on it that I need to take off, and I'll just use the discard and refeed it and get it going again as well. So I might make some quick bread, just some same day sort of yeasted bread with the starter in it. We'll see how we go. What else do I need to get done today? We really need to keep moving on the kitchen walls and stuff, but we just haven't got there yet. The chicken pens are still in progress. Mum's pump died while we were gone, I'd say because it got to negative 7.5, and because she wasn't home to use water early in the morning and stuff, it froze and it exploded, basically. So I've had to order a new pump for her water. So she's got no running water as such at the moment, but she does have a Berkey style, a ceramic Durand filter, like a Berkey type thing that we're just keeping topped up. So she's got fresh water to use to wash her hands and drink and all that sort of thing, just not shower up there at the moment. Once Daryl's finished D&D, he'll go into town and get the attachment for, we have a spare pump, so it just needs a new attachment, so he'll do that. So that's fine. What else needs to be sorted? Those tomatoes are going to need to be done fairly quickly, but I might be able to get away until Friday with them because they were very firm, but I might need to spread them out into a flatter box as I've emptied other boxes, because the tomato boxes are quite high and the pressure of them sitting on top of each other can be an issue. None of them seem to freeze, which I was surprised by. Obviously they were packed densely enough that it wasn't an issue, whereas the carrots were in bags and there was condensation in the bag, so it would have been that water that froze to the surface of the carrots. So some of them will need to be shredded and frozen, or I could make some carrot cakes or something out of them. I do want to can some of those pears that are lovely and firm, but again, I probably won't get to that today, tomorrow before work. That'll be next weekend's job, which should be fine. This is the problem with working in the middle of the week when doing the shopping back then. We'll see, we might get to it tomorrow, we'll see. The candy melons need to just be eaten. I don't think there's really any way of preserving those other than freezing pieces of them, so I need them to get eaten. Onions will turn into onion jam eventually, but not straight away. Potatoes, we need to make some meals with potatoes because it was a 20 kilo bag of potatoes, and these fluctuations in temperature aren't going to be great for them. But I did want to can some loaded potato soup as well. But again, I don't know if I could get that right just yet. Though I could, while I'm doing other things, fry off a whole bunch of that diced bacon that I bought cheap. And then I'd have that to use in the loaded potato soups as well as anything else. So I might have to do that. Might have to grab out my big cast iron deep pan, my big oval one, and load that up with bacon and just cook it off throughout the day as I'm doing everything else. I don't know, it's a lot. it was a really good shop. Like I haven't done all my costings up yet. I need to do that at some point as well to get that video out. But the fruit and veg shop was only $358 worth or whatever, and there was a lot in there. And the Costco shop was $2,200, I think, including all of Mum's stuff and everything else. So that was a pretty good price for our trips as well. So I need to add it all up and see how we go. But I was generous with some of what I bought because I'm just not entirely sure when we're going back yet. Have to decide whether we're going to give that Airbnb another go, or if we go somewhere else, or when I'm going, or whatever. I need to make sure it's not on holidays, and I'm not sure yet. So that's my ramble for the morning. Let's figure out what I want to start with. I did want to give a shout out. Someone sent the boys this from Amazon. It's a little digital microscope telescope type thing. It didn't have a name in the box, or I didn't see one in the box, but someone sent this to us through Amazon, and the boys have adored it. They have been looking at sugar crystals versus salt crystals and dirt, and seeing that the dirt's made up of all the little tiny crystals as well, and looking at the stars at nighttime and all that sort of stuff. It is very cool. Very simple, but it's got a digital screen. It's got one lens is for distance, one lens is for microscope, and you have focus rings on the top and some digital things. It has an SD card so you can take photos and all that sort of thing. The kids have really enjoyed it, so whoever sent this for them, thank you very much. Okay, so it's now 11 o'clock. I don't remember what time it was before. I've got one batch of bacon done. Other than that, unfortunately, I've got nothing done except get the benches cleaned to my standard rather than the kids and the husband's standard, which is just annoying. But anyway, so I need to get this batch of bacon in the freezer. So I'm going to pull the strawberries off from yesterday so that I can use these trays in that flat spot to get the bacon done. Now, obviously these were bunched up rather than flat, which means that they're not quite, singularly frozen, but because I didn't wash them, they are fairly easy to, maneuver. So we're just going to get these in bags and back in the freezer for the moment, and then get the bacon spread out on this tray to cool a bit, and then we'll stick it in the freezer as well, and I'll start another bag up. Right, so this is what the bacon looks like. Lovely and well cooked, but not overly done. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the spider, and I will leave a fair bit of the oil behind because we'll put the fresh stuff in that, which will mean that it will cook slightly quicker, because once the oil has hit the bottom of the pan, the bacon does tend to cook a little bit quicker. So that first batch to render the fat takes a bit longer to start really crisping up. But the second batch, with the rendered fat in there already, should go a little bit quicker. Grab me another bag of bacon out of the fridge, please.
Yeah, but...
So this was the bag that we opened for hot dogs, so it was a little bit under a full kilo. And we've got that full tray of bacon bits, and now we will open another one and let it get going as well, but probably can't do a full bag, probably only half a bag at a time, or it'll just take too long. So we'll do, or it's 3/4 of a bag maybe, but we'll do that kind now because that's what was in there before. Put it back in the fridge. And then what we also did was we used the meat breaker-upper to break some of the bigger chunks into smaller bacon bits. So like that. There's already some fat in here to help that we're now mixing through the cold bacon, and we will put this on the stove and we'll do the same process with this one. Right, so I seem to be very slowly getting things done today. But anyway, I've got that second batch of bacon still going. I do want to put that ice cream mix in the Thermomix so that we can freeze it so it can be used tomorrow. I'm going to make that brownie tomorrow to have with it and stuff. So anyway, but I've just been walking in my own path. Anyway, bread. I'm going to do some sandwich bread loaves. With the new oven, going back to the sandwich tins might be the way to go. And I have enough that they can stack on top of each other as well, but I'm not sure where the clips are to hold them, but I'll figure that out. So I'm just going to do like some sandwich bread dough. I'm going to use what's left of my sourdough starter that is very acidic and not great because it has sat for the whole weekend in up and down temperatures doing nothing. So I'm going to use whatever is in here and leave just enough behind. Oh, I can't get the angle right. Just enough behind, just a scraping in the bottom to feed it again. So we've got about 130 grams here. It's probably less than I would use. I'm going to do, say, 3 loaves because I should have 6 of those tins. So I'm going to go with, say, 800 grams of water, 800 to 900 grams of water. This is warm. That ended up being about 900 grams. No, that ended up being about 800 grams. I might need to add a bit more, we'll see. I'm going to add some salt. We're doing, say, 3 loaves, so we'll do like 30 grams of salt. Like that. I'm going to add a bit of sugar because it's sandwich bread. We want it to have a little bit of sweetness, but also this will help it to proof for me because we're going to double proof it because we're going to yeast it and it's sandwich dough. So we're going to use what, say, I don't know, 2 teaspoons per, so say 10-15 grams per loaf. So we got 6 of those spoonfuls in there, which ended up being about 60 grams, I suppose. I'm going to use some yeast. And we'll use about, say, the 15 grams of yeast, 5 to 7 for each. What else have I forgotten? I need flour, and we're going to use some oil. So classic sandwich bread would use butter, but I'm not, all my butter's cold and oil works just as well for me. So we'll use, say, 180, so that we've got around about 60 grams per loaf. We'll do 1.5 kilos of baker's flour in there, and then I'll knead it up and I'll assess the texture. Now, because I was going to use this as sandwich bread and it's yeasted, ideally I would have liked to have taken it to sort of window pane territory, but this was too much for the KitchenAid to tolerate. So it's just climbing up into the top of it as it gets to that more difficult texture to knead. So we're just going to leave it here, which is fine. We're not fussy. I just thought while I was making sandwich loaf bread, I'd take it to sort of, you know, sandwich loaf consistency, which wouldn't be an issue if it was only sourdough, but because it's yeast normally, you know. Anyway, oiled container, I'm just going to throw it all in there, and I'm just going to see how much it weighs as I do that, because then I will know how much is. It seems a little stiff too. It's probably a little underhydrated, but we will see how it goes. It's about 2.7 kilos, which is what is expected because you got 3 900 gram sandwich loaves out of it. So we're just going to put it in an oil container and let it 1.5 times, and then we'll move it to the tins. I don't know if I turned the camera on then. So second batch of bacon done. It took about 45 minutes, I reckon, to do that lot. So we're just going to keep working through it, and by the end of it I'm going to have a lovely amount of bacon fat here that I can use for whatever it is that I choose to use it for. But we're just going to keep working through it because I think it'll be better to have it cooked in the oven, because it'll make quick meals easier, because it just takes so much time to get bacon where I want it, because I prefer it crispy than raw. Sorry, these are 2 kilo bags, not 1 kilo bags, so I'm doing about 1 kilo at a time. All right, let's get a batch of ice cream going while we're doing other stuff. So I don't think like the bowl is only 2.2 litres and there's only 2 litres of milk, but once you add 10 eggs and the sugar and stuff, I think it'd be too much to do 2 litres worth, which is a bit of a bummer, but that's fine. So we'll do it in 2 batches. So we can do the same thing as what we did because it was really good. The texture was fantastic. It whipped up into a perfectly creamy ice cream and everyone was happy with the flavour. So we're going to keep it super simple, which is fantastic. So we've got a litre of milk. We're going to do 5 eggs. As usual, eggs from our chickens means that each egg is cracked individually. Right, 5 eggs. Then we did 200 grams of sugar. We're going to add a pinch of salt, a scoop of vanilla bean paste, and a tablespoon of gelatin, and then we're going to cook it the same 9 minutes, 8 or 9 minutes on 90 degrees, speed 3, and we will have our custard base. And we will just do the same process as I did last time, except we're going to add some macerated strawberries to one of them. I will do a batch with artificial sweetener too, with allulose in it, so that Darryl can have some ice cream with of an evening as well if he chooses, and we just make it in smaller tubs. So yeah, I'm just going to do that while I've got bacon that I'm stirring and all that sort of thing. Alright, so we've got the lot of bacon cooked. Last of the first bags that I was doing being done now. This bag was already done in the freezer. It's pretty much sorted, so I've just pulled it off the baking tray. The little bits of fat that are clumping it together will be fine though. This can go back in the freezer. This one can go in the freezer to freeze flat, and we'll end up with many kilos of cooked bacon. I still have a 2 kilo bag in the fridge that isn't cooked. I may just leave that as is, and then we've ended up with about 5 to 6 kilos of cooked stuff. Alright, the bread's nearly ready to be transferred over. So I did so I've done 2 full sugar batches there, which has given me 5 pints, and 4 that are half full, which have the sugar free. My Mike's low on power too, so I need to find that. So I ended up using monk fruit because I couldn't find any allulose, but it should be fine because it's an egg based with gelatin stuff in there. It shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to puree up the macerated strawberries with the lemon, and I'm going to split this between some of the sugar free and some of the sugar full stuff. We'll add some pistachio, we'll do whatever, and I'll just mix them up like I did last time, throw them all in the freezer. Alright, my mic was flat, so I filmed this and then just talking about it afterwards. I shaped the bread, so I just split it into 3, about 900 grams each, and then rolled it into simple rolls for the loaf pans. I do have 6 of them, but I can only find 5. But this is a good way, especially if I'm going to do sourdough again, of doing sourdough loaves with a lid like that. Though I do need to get some bulldog clips for the ends of them to keep it in place. But yeah, I just shaped it into 3 different pieces, logs rolled up in the pan. We'll see how they go. Strawberry puree. I just blended up all the strawberries and the lemon and stuff. So we're going to split that between some of the ice creams. Let's find the ones that this one has the least amount of base in it. So I'm going to top that up like that. For that one, I'll give it a whisk. We're going to top this one up as well. Obviously there's a bit of sugar in the strawberries, even though this is a sugar-free base, but we're not strict. Like, is Darryl who's doing the keto carnivore type thing, and he's not super strict about it. We're just trying to be mindful about it for him. So whenever we're eating bread, he doesn't eat bread and doesn't eat the potato, doesn't eat the pasta and things like that. And he's not really a sweet treat kind of a person, but it'd be nice to have the option of this. So that is a strawberry sugar-free one and a strawberry sugar one. And then we will do another couple of strawberry ones. These are a bit fuller than is ideal, but that will do. So we've got 3 of the strawberry lemon standard ones, a strawberry lemon sugar free one, on a vanilla base. And of course the vanilla base is already sweetened, so even though this is quite tart, it doesn't really matter because the vanilla base is already sweetened. So we'll just give that a brief mix because the creamy will mix it when it's blended, just like that. And we've got the 3 real strawberry ones. Now we'll just put lids on these ones and that'll be fun. Alright, then I'll do a pistachio in both of these, and then I might just leave these as vanilla. They can have a Oreo mixed through them, and this one is vanilla as well. I'll just do pistachio for this, and then that'll be it for today. Alright, I cut up all the broccoli. I've got 4 big heads here left that we'll have for dinner. The rest of them fit into 5 of the Kmart / wherever fridge containers. I will get 3 to 4 weeks out of these so long as I change the paper towel and they're stored appropriately in the fridge. So that works well. I also pulled the bread out of the oven. This one, the darker one here, is the one that didn't have the double lid, so these rise much neater with the lids, with the double panning. I also think this one might be slightly undercooked because it got really brown on top, but I think it's still a little bit tacky on the bottom, so we'll see how that goes. But that's the bread from today as well. I don't know exactly what I'm doing for dinner, but I am going to just steam some big chunks of these potatoes, and we'll smash them on a tray and with olive oil and stuff, and broccoli, and then I'll do some sort of meat with them. So that's mostly what I'm getting done today. We're going to do with the potatoes that accidental thing that everyone liked. So I've got 2 trays that I've just smashed the steamed potatoes on. I'm going to add a bunch of cheese to the top. Not as much as Sonnet did though. And I'm going to add some of the bacon that I fried today as well. So we're just going to, and then we won't eat all this in one, there'll be 2 trays, but we won't eat all of it in one meal. But the kids really liked it, it's leftovers, so it works well to use up some of those potatoes. And we've got a little bit of the bacon and cheese as well, and we'll throw that in the oven, so we'll do that on 2 different trays. Alright, it is Tuesday morning. Let's have a look at how this bread turned out. So this is the one that had the lid in the bottom. This is the one that was just plain. Definitely a more even lift, and I probably could have scored this one with the lid on it. This one has poked out the sides. Now, I did realise, as I was thinking about it this morning, that the dough seemed awfully stiff for what I was expecting my sandwich dough to be. And you know what it is? I think I forgot to add any milk. So there's a little bit less liquid in here than there should have been, because normally I would add milk. So inside is just a soft but dense sandwich bread. On that one, this one's gonna be the same, I'd imagine. I'm going to slice some of it up to go in the freezer for me to be able to take as toasted sandwiches for work. Because if I don't have leftovers, that is a really nice simple thing for me to be able to do. This one definitely is a little undercooked in the bottom here. It's a little bit squishy, which I thought was the case because it browned really quickly on top because it didn't have the lid on it. So I pulled it out, but then when I pulled it out of the tin, it seemed a little bit squishy in the bottom. So it'll be fine to be toasted, but it's definitely a little bit more densely, like unevenly cooked than these ones. So they're fine. They're not my favorite type of bread, but they will be perfectly suitable for toasted sandwiches, which was the idea. So I'm going to put some in the freezer. I think I might just put like ham and cheese on them and freeze them, and then I can take myself some tomato and some mayo, and I can do that before I toast them. I don't want to freeze them with those on them. So I think I'll just put the ham and cheese on there, because some of that ham that we bought in bulk needs to be frozen anyway. So that way I'm freezing it in something I'm already going to use, and these toasted sandwiches don't have to be just for me. The kids could use them as well. And by letting this bread cool, I'm getting some really nice thin slices, which is the benefit for toasted sandwiches too. And because it's being toasted, it doesn't matter that it's not same day bread. Like if I was eating this as straight up sandwiches, I would have wanted to eat it warm, because, you know, who doesn't love warm toasty bread? But yeah, so this is perfectly fine sandwich bread. It's not quite as flexible as I'd like, but it's a little denser than I'd like. As I said, it was a little bit lower hydration than planned because I forgot to put that little bit of milk in there, which helps to keep it soft. So I'm going to freeze some of these. I'm just going to put ham and cheese and put them in the freezer so that I've got these for quick lunches for myself or for the kids. Now, I don't want to package these up individually as such, because the kids, like, there might be 3 kids who want them at the same time, so I'm not going to put them in separate bags. I'm not going to go to too much effort with wrapping them or anything, but I also don't want them to stick to each other in the freezer. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use a gallon Ziploc bag, and I've just got one piece of baking paper wrapped around it, and you can toast it in the baking paper if that's what you want. So that way all I'm doing is just cutting a strip off for each one. And if they don't use the baking paper, they could just throw it back into the Ziploc bag and it could be used on the next one. So all I'm doing is just that. Just folding it into the strip like that and placing it in. There's no intent for these to be in the freezer long term. This is purely well, you think about it, when there's 5 kids and each loaf of bread only makes what we've got. Well, there's only 5 sandwiches in there already, so maybe 6, 7, 8 sandwiches maybe out of a loaf, so it's not like it's going to last very long. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is get some vacuum sealing sorted. We had steak for dinner last night. I'll put a photo in here because I forgot to. Darryl served it up in the end with the potatoes and stuff. So I opened the rib fillet. I'm going to slice the rib fillet. I'm going to slice some really nice thick pieces to be vacuum sealed, because I bought the chuck steak to be vacuum sealed as well, because we're going to try sous videing this. But I want to see the comparison of sous videing the rib fillet versus the chuck, out of curiosity. So I've got some vacuum seal bags for my chamber vacuum sealer. I'm wondering if I think I'm going to have to use the bigger bags, because I just want to put 1 slice per, but I don't want to squish it up too much. I'm not sure if I should put anything with it either. Like with chicken, I put seasonings in there, but do you put anything with the steak? I wouldn't think so. I would think that you'd add a bit of butter to the pan and a bit of salt and stuff when you're searing it. So that's a really big piece. So it looks like it's just 2 really big pieces and 1 sort of half-size piece that were in this pack. So I just wanted to compare, because chuck is cheaper. Like I can buy a whole chuck at $19.99 a kilo from Costco and slice it up for steaks. Chuck's a really nice tasting steak. It's just really tough. So if I sous vide it, will it end up being like eating rib fillet as a steak? I don't know. We're going to give it a go. So I'm going to vacuum seal them up. I'm going to slice some of the rib fillet as well. This is just the cheaper butcher rib fillet, not the expensive Costco stuff. We're going to cut some nice thick slabs of that to try sous videing as well. And the rest of it will go into normal thin slices for another meal this week. So I'm using the chamber vacuum sealer to get a really nice, good seal on these in this nice, heavyweight, smooth plastic bags to go straight into the sous vide. So that's one of the chucks done. I'm going to do the others. I'm going to slice the rib as well. Alright, so I've done some 250 gram packs of ham. These can be diced up to use in or used on the slider scrolls and things like that. I think that's a good amount to have there. I've got 2 500 gram packs. These will be for if we're having sandwiches for a couple of days, the kids can pull one of these out to defrost for lunches. And then we've got the chuck pieces and the rib fillet pieces. So we're going to put all these in the freezer, the ham and this included, and I'll put the rest of this steak in the fridge to eat in the next few days. And I'll cut this up. So I will use some of this for dinner tonight, which I will get started soon so that we have plenty of time to get it cooked, because sometimes I'm rushing it and it's not quite what I want. I think I'm going to dice some into little cubes though. I've seen some recipes recently for the sticky pork belly pieces done in the pressure cooker. I think that would be really neat. So I might end up cooking. I still have a strip of the one from last month as well in the freezer that we haven't defrosted and used yet. because you have to make sure it's fully defrosted before you cook it. I haven't got around to it. So yeah, I might, this is 3.8 kilos. So if I do about 2 for tonight, and the other piece I might cut into those little cubes to try pressure cooking at a later date. I'm going to freeze it for the moment though. I think that's what I'll do. Alright, so I diced this one, vacuum sealed it up. This can go in the freezer for another meal. There's a little bit extra. We might try sous videing this piece when we do the other things and see what the difference is. And I've got 2 pieces here for dinner tonight. I'm just going to give them a quick spray and salt them, get them into a really hot oven for half an hour, and then I'll turn the oven right down for another couple of hours till they fall apart, ready to eat. Alright, one of the last things I'm going to do today is run my eyes over the zucchini. So the zucchinis had some water damage, so there's no actual damage to them, but they have some discoloration. Some of them, that discoloration can have the potential to turn into little rot patches though. So I'm going to run my eye over a bunch of them. Any that have any patches that need to be cut out, I'm going to grate and I'm going to stick in the freezer, and we'll use that for zucchini pasta sauce or for zucchini bread or whatever. But any that look really good, I will leave in the fridge for the moment, because I really do like having fresh zucchini for frying up to eat. So, and they will last quite a while in the fridge, so long as I get them in there in something that they breathe in. So they'll go in a box or something with some paper towel, and they'll breathe, and they'll be fine, as long as they don't go to the bottom of the fridge and things like that. So I'm going to pull out, I'm going to leave some good looking ones to go in the fridge, and I'm going to pull out some that have some damage or some soft spots or whatever, and we will grate them up to freeze. I do love that zucchini pasta sauce, and it can be used, like frozen zucchini can be used to make that. So I'll assess them and then I'll grate them up. Now I do have the grater attachment for the TM6 but not the TM7 yet, but honestly I'm just gonna do it by hand. I haven't got my TM6 in a position that's easy to use currently. We're still working on, we got power on the back wall now, I can put it behind me, is the thought. We haven't really decided exactly what I'm doing, so this doesn't hurt my hands. It's unlike holding it to put on to use a box grater, this is pretty gentle. So the only issue being that it doesn't stick to the table very well. So I'm going to grate all these. They actually look okay, but it's better to get them in the freezer so they don't go to waste, and there's a whole lot to go in the fridge to use fresh. Alright, so this is done. Let's see what a cup of zucchini weighs, because I'm pretty sure my zucchini bread recipe that I do takes 5 cups of zucchini. And we're talking about 150 grams per cup by the looks of it. That should be 300-ish. Just under, okay. So if we say 150 grams per cup, and we say 5 cups, then what's that? 750 grams? Is that right? 50, yep, 750 grams. So maybe we'll bag it in 750 gram lots, because that's probably a good amount for the pasta sauce as well. So if I bag it in, and we'll see, make sure that it fits in here, but I think it will. So that's 5 cups, and it's come to 670. So let's take that up to 750, because these are quite large shreds, so they probably don't take up much room in a cup anyway. So if we do 750 gram lots, I think that would be a good amount to have to use for baking or for the zucchini bread, and that'll fit nicely in those bags. I'll flatten them out. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to vacuum seal them up and get them in the freezer. Couldn't have got it to work out more evenly if I tried. It's 5 750 gram bags exactly of all that shred. So these will go in the freezer, the rest will go in the fridge, the scraps will go to the chickens, and that's it. I will have to deal with the candy melons. I'll probably do that tomorrow afternoon after work. The kids have been eating a lot of them. I'll cut some up to take to work tomorrow as well, but I think that they're not going to get through them in time, and I'll probably have to freeze some of them, and the kids will eat them frozen. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll have to deal with the pears and the tomatoes. Alrighty, it is Friday morning, so we have to decide what needs to be done first. I've got all the chicken in the fridge that hasn't been frozen yet. Most of it has a couple of days left on its dates anyway, but I was thinking that the pasta dough that I didn't end up getting able to use, I might make some fresh stuff because we still have eggs to use up. So I might make some fresh pasta dough and we'll do a white chicken lasagna for dinner, like a creamy chicken lasagna for dinner. And then I'm using up some eggs for that and using up some of the chicken rather than getting it in the freezer. We also have all the candy melons to sort out. I have to decide what I'm doing with pears and with tomatoes and figure out what needs to be done first. And I do have to decide what I'm doing with the rest of that chicken as well. I still have 2 kilos of the bacon bits in the bottom of the fridge that I have to either freeze raw or decide to cook up. Big bag of potatoes, they were cheap because they're on their way out, so I have to decide what I was going to do. I was thinking that I could do loaded potato soup and I could potentially can some as well. So I need to cook some onions and stuff off if I want to do that. To get the potatoes sorted. So yeah, just trying to figure out what I'm going to do first. But first up, I'm going to mix up some of this pasta so that it can just be put aside to rest before I roll it out. And then we can poach the chicken in some broth and stuff afterward, later, and then I'll use the broth to make the white sauce and things like that. So let's get the pasta done first. Same process as I did the other day. 5 eggs with 500 grams of flour and a bit of oil. All right, so we've got dough for pasta to rest. What I might do also if we do lasagna is baguette style dough. We'll do some garlic bread. I fed my starter before work, like before I went back to work, and then didn't end up using it. So again, we've got a skin that I'm just going to take off, a tough bit of skin that won't go won't knead into the dough properly because I have left it, and we'll just use it and feed it so that I've got it to use. And then if I use it, I use it. If I don't, I just use it in things like this. And we're just going to make the standard French bread baguette style dough. I'm pretty sure it is on my website, but then that way we can use it to make garlic bread or some sort of a sub type stuff for lunch tomorrow or whatever. I'm just going to use all of this in here because it needs using and refeeding. I might start a new jar too. Just give every now and again I start in a fresh jar just so I can more easily see where it's lifting and rising from. So we've got about 150 grams of starter in there, which is fine. We'll just back off on the water and stuff a little bit to compensate for that. Slightly warm water from the kettle, and we'll just mix it up like normal and shape it into baguette style rolls, just like we always do. Dough for the baguettes ready to rise. We've got eggs on the stove boiling because we need to use eggs as well. That pasta dough I'm going to let sit for a while. I need to start the cooking stuff of the lasagna eventually, but it is only 12 o'clock. And what I thought I might do in the meantime is make up a batch of the muffins that we made last time. These eggs here will be fine. They were from the fridge originally. I'm going to make up the triple chocolate orange ones that I made. So we've got a jar of my oranges. Now, part of the reason I want to do this is I want to make sure that the recipe works again because I've only got about 5 jars of orange on the shelf, and I do have that box of oranges. So if I need to use them for something, then I can. So these are oranges that have been boiled whole for 45 minutes and then just pureed. We use these for whole orange and almond cake and all that sort of stuff. The chips, and grab some white and some milk. Yeah. So what I did last time was I used my homemade bulk muffin mix. I'll try and remember to put a link, but I am pretty slack with it. That I have made up, and this is basically a vanilla base. I've got my jar of oranges. We did 4 eggs with this one, so we double the amount of eggs that I normally use for the batch, except I think I ended up using, yeah, 4 eggs as a double batch. So normally it's 1 egg per, I can't find, where was my notes? Muffin mix. Normally it's 1 egg per batch of muffin mix. So we're using 2 eggs per batch of muffin mix. So we're doing 800 odd grams of the muffin mix, and then we're going to put some cocoa in it as well. Can you grab a jar of cocoa for me?
Yep.
Put a timer on for those eggs.
On Alexa.
Wherever. Or on my phone, you can if you want. Just that.
Where's the timer?
Under the clock, I think. Clock, yep. And then you can just start it and we'll watch it. Alright, so we've got 800 odd grams of that. Oh, we're going to put some cocoa in. So, there's no scoop in here for some reason.
I'll grab it.
Normally we do 840 to 870 of the muffin mix. Instead we did about 810. We'll put about 40 grams of cocoa in here. And we'll add 4 eggs.
How much?
40 odd grams. 40 to 50. That seems like plenty. It didn't seem like it was measuring properly, did it?
No.
So about that of that, and we need some milk and some oil.
Milk.
So
Like actual milk?
yeah, normally I just use one of the UHTs of milk.
None left in here.
They're down here now.
There's a couple up on that shelf. So
Oh, is there?
do you just want those ones?
You can if you can. So 500 grams. Oops.
These are tiny.
There, really tiny ones. So maybe half of each bag, like. Use the. Normally do about, yeah, so do that amount and that of the other ones as well. Should be fine.
Can I tell the camera what you're doing?
We're putting chocolate chips in. Some white, some milk or dark, whichever one. They're dark, yeah. We'll end up with just over a cup of mix-ins. You can do up to 2 cups of mix-ins with this, but with the orange and everything else and the extra sweetness of everything else, I don't think it needs it. So, and I like to make my chocolate chips go as far as I possibly can.
Because they're expensive.
They are expensive. Lid for this one. Where did I put the lid for this? There's a spatula here. Do you want to mix it? Do you want to start mixing it? So we'll just mix that all together. It's muffin mix, so it doesn't need to be, you know, overly mixed. Just get all the orange mixed through it and the eggs and stuff like that. And then we will put that into about 24 muffins. That's what the muffins look like. Oops, it's warm and I just stuck my finger in a chocolate chip. But I'm happy with how they've come out with the jar of orange. They're a soft, moist chocolate orange.
Chocolate orange?
Chocolate orange, apparently. Muffin. So that I'm happy with the way these have worked. All right. Visitors got sidetracked. So we're just going to do some ravioli up for the kids with the garlic bread that's in the oven. And I will do the pasta and the lasagna tomorrow. Sonnet will help me make that. We've got the chocolate muffins for dessert today. And other than that, don't think I'm going to do anything else out here for the moment. I really should have cut up all that candy melon. I suppose we could do that and put it in the freezer. How many candy melons are left? Tomatoes was the other thing I was going to do, and I didn't get there.
7.
Might leave it for tomorrow. We'll see what gets eaten tomorrow, because you can potentially eat 2 or 3 in a day, and then we'll see what goes from there. And I'll need to start on the tomatoes as well. This is what the baguettes end up turning out like. These lovely rolls, and then I sliced some and put garlic butter in them to have for dinner. We've got some steak, some ravioli, mix of things, and that is dinner tonight. All right, it is Saturday. We did not get as much done yesterday as I had planned, and that's life. So we've got a few different things that I need to do today, and I need to try and make sure I get through them. But I want to do that lasagna mix up, and I want to put some bacon, onion, maybe mushrooms in the white sauce for the chicken lasagna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pot of caramelized onions over the day, seeing as I'm going to be out here most of the day anyway. So I'm just going to use the cast iron, the big blue cast iron pot that I've got, and fill it with onions and do that many. And I'll freeze or whatever the extras.
It has some onions in it.
Right. Okay, so I've got this big blue cast iron pot. Can you put a
It's blue?
it's blue on the outside, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can barely see it.
Put a dollop of ghee in there for me. This is the last of the onions from last month, and I'll grab some of the fresh ones if I need to as well. So I'll just get these all sliced up nice and fine so they cook quickly and into this pot, and we will cook that over the span of today. All right, so next thing I'm going to get started is the chicken for the lasagna, the white lasagna. I'm going to poach my chicken. I'm going to use breasts because I don't use breasts for a lot of things. I use thighs for a lot more of the stuff that you're eating it as is, and breasts are the ones that tend to have the potential to go dry, so by poaching them that counteracts that. So I've got 2.2 kilos of breasts here. I'm just going to make them evenly sized, give them a quick trim if they need anything taken off, and we're going to throw them in a big pot. So these are all fairly small ones this batch. Sometimes you get some that are some really giant ones, but I want them all to cook in sort of the same amount of time. So I'm just going to cut some of the bigger ones in half, just to make sure that they have plenty of time to poach in the liquid. All right, and we're going to do a mix of liquid. So do that. Let me clean this up. I'm going to do a mix of liquid. I'm going to do, say, a jar of chicken stock, and I'm going to top this up with a bit of water. I'm going to use this poaching liquid to make the white sauce, because this is going to end up being like chicken stock, basically. So we're going to make it flavorful, but we've used milk because we use milk in our white sauce. I'm going to use, say, 2 litres of milk in here. We want this well and truly covered, and we want enough liquid to make all the white sauce. It means I need to make sure that this doesn't boil. If it boils, your milk can split. It's probably not a massive issue because we're just going to whisk it into a white sauce anyway, but it looks unpleasant. So let's do a couple of litres of, we've just got UHT milk because it's what we buy. I'm going to add a couple of bay leaves in here, which I need to remember to fish out. So let's count them as we go in, so we know that 4, let's say 5 good sized bay leaves. I'm going to put some bouillon in there because that stock is not going to be enough on its own to create salt and things like that. So let's put, say, 1.5 tablespoons of the chicken bouillon powder. We can always add more later if we need. We'll add some black pepper, which is always nice. Do I want to add any green herbs to this? Maybe some thyme works well with chicken. Just a sprinkle of some Howdy green herbs. All right, so we're going to bring this up to a simmer, and I'm going to simmer it for, say, 15-20 minutes. the chicken should be cooked by then and I should be able to shred it, so I'll test it. We'll go a little bit longer if we need to, but we're just going to keep it at a low simmer. So once we bring it to a simmer, we're going to keep it at a low simmer. I made pancake bake for the kids this morning and I mixed up some bread as well. So it was about an hour ago that I mixed this up. My starter was at peak, so I decided to give some a go without any yeast early enough in the day that I can watch the dough and I can get it in the fridge when needed. So this has just been pulled together. We're going to do our first set of stretch and fold. And then I am actually going to pull the stopwatch up on my phone to try and remember to do 15-minute coil folds or slap and folds or whatever for the next 2 hours before bulk proofing it. Since I'm already out here, I may as well go the whole hog, make it somewhat hands-on dough. So that's already looking quite nice for that first bring together. So yeah, now every 15 minutes for about 4 times I'll do a stretch and fold while I'm here, and then we'll bulk proof it. I did mix 2, and this one I put some of the wholemeal flour in to test. I did about 100 grams of wholemeal flour with 400 grams baker's flour, so not a very high ratio, but I haven't used it in sourdough before, so we're going to give it a go. I like the idea of the extra texture and nuttiness of the wholemeal flour, but I know that it can really impact texture, like rise and that sort of thing. So I'm going to have a play because I can, but I'm not really that concerned. If I go back to all white flour, I go back to all white flour. All right, so I want some low knead tomato prep. So I'm going to roast them up like I normally do, which I then either I can them just as roasted tomatoes, or I turn them into tomato soup or whatever else. I just looked, I have 7 jars of salsa on the shelf still, and I have 9 jars of pizza sauce. So I'm not desperate for either of those at the moment. The roasted tomatoes can be turned into pizza sauce easily enough. Not really salsa, because I prefer my salsa made with tomatoes that aren't cooked, but I do prefer salsa made with fresh tomatoes in summer because they're much sweeter. Yeah, they're in season, they're much sweeter and more flavoursome, whereas winter tomatoes, not that winter is particularly cold in a lot of places, which is why we get tomatoes even in winter, they are less sweet, firmer, still perfectly edible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill a couple of trays with tomatoes and an onion as well, and we can roast these up and then do whatever I want to do with them. Probably just can them at this point.
Use them later?
Yeah, and then they can be used to make pasta sauce, pizza sauce, any sort of thing that uses roasted tomatoes later, but it puts them on my shelf available to use. I will still keep a fair few out for fresh eating because they're holding their shape quite well too. So we will keep some out for slicing up on sandwiches and stuff for a while yet, any that are nice and firm all the way around. Some of them have a few softer bits, probably because they've frozen a little bit in our temperatures and then got a little bit squishy, but so I'm going to do my normal. I'm going to fill these trays with the tomatoes. I'll put half an onion in each, a bit of salt, a little spray of oil, stick them in the oven, cook them low and slow. Then I'm going to work on the candy melons. There's still about 8 or something of them, so I'm going to cut them. 7 is there, so I'm going to cut them all up. The kids can eat some that's cut, and whatever they don't want to eat right now, I'm going to just flash freeze, and they can eat from the freezer. And then I might roll out the pasta for the lasagna. Chicken, it might be ready to be pulled out and shredded. We shall see what we'll do next. We do have 2 boxes of pears that we're not going to get through as well, so I do need to do something with those. If I want to can them, I need to peel them though, and I really just don't want to peel them. But pardon?
You have the new peelers.
I did get new peelers, yes, so I can peel them, but it's just a lot of work. But pear skin does not can very well. I did make a pear ginger jam a while back, which was really nice, mind you, but we just don't eat jam a lot. So sometimes it seems pointless making jam
because it sits on the shelf a lot. So I don't know, I'll have a think. I suppose you can make like pear butter, a bit like you can apple and peach butter, and then I could use the pears to flavour, like the chocolate muffins could be chocolate pear instead of chocolate orange and things like that. I don't know, I'll have to have a think about it. But if I did it that way, I could leave the skins on. We'll see. Right, both trays of tomatoes are in the oven, where Sonnet's going to quickly stir those onions again for me. They're nearly done. The chicken is still, I really didn't want to risk it boiling, so I was bringing it up to temperature really slowly, but it means that it hasn't even come up to a simmer yet. So I'm cutting up the candy melons. So this is what the candy melons look like, the yellow on the outside. They look very much like and taste very much like rock melon. So I've cut up 3 so far, and they've been mostly just eaten by the kids as a snack. Whatever they don't eat, I'm going to just freeze on trays, and they will eat from frozen, or it can go in smoothies or something. However they want to use it, but just to make sure that it gets eaten and doesn't go bad. So I'm just slicing it off the skin at the moment, and then yeah, we'll just lay it out on trays to flash freeze like most fruit. Alright, poached chicken, I'm going to throw it in the Thermomix and just put it on reverse to shred it rather than do it by hand, just because it is easier. So I'll do it in 2 batches. About 5 seconds on reverse speed 4, and we've got shredded chicken. It's probably smaller shreds than are needed for this particular dish, but I really just don't want to sit there with forks and do it, so that is the easiest way to do it. So super simple to just put it on reverse and speed sort of 3-ish for a few seconds, and you've got shredded chicken. Thank you. I'm going to cut up some mushroom really fine and fry it off to have in the lasagna. I'm not a fan of big chunks of mushroom, but I really do like the flavour that mushroom can impart if it's cooked in like in a roux and in the white sauce and stuff like that. I just don't want big chunks through the food. I prefer it nice and small, so I'm just going to dice it up into little pieces, and we will fry that off before we add it. Alright, so we ended up with the full container of the shredded chicken, and whilst we will use it all in the lasagna, we're using some for lunch as well. So Darryl just had some on low carb wraps. I've got some of the baguettes from yesterday that I'm toasting, and I'm going to put some lettuce, cheese, mayo. I just made some fresh mayo and all that sort of stuff on it, and that's going to be lunch, and then I'll come back to it. Alright, we cooked off the mushrooms and put them aside, and we're cooking off a whole lot of butter here because we're going to make a big pot of white sauce. So we're melting the butter. I also have some emulsified garlic oil, so we're going to melt that in there as well, and then we're going to add some flour, and we'll start our roux, and then we will start adding the liquid from poaching the chicken into here as the liquid to create the rest of the sauce. I also have the caramelized onions are all done. They are, which we will put in when we put the mushroom in, so they're a really nice colour, and whatever's left will go in the freezer for use for other things. So yeah, we're just going to get this all melted, then we'll add the flour, so then we'll just add the flour and we'll create a roux.
I don't know what a roux is, but
You're just cooking the flour off with the butter. It'll go into like a paste. Too hot?
grabbing one second.
Regularly use a whisk, but it's a deep pot to be.
Is it supposed to look like that?
Yeah, it goes into like sort of a paste, and then when we start adding liquid, it goes saucier and thicker. So we just cook it off for a few minutes till the flour smells nutty.
I don't know what nutty is to you.
Cooked is all. Like, you want it to smell cooked. You want the flour to just be toasted. So like toasted, I suppose, is another way of saying smell, but we just give it a couple of minutes to absorb that butter and brown off a little bit, and then we'll start adding the liquids. So you might want to wash the really big whisk if you want. You can wash the really, really big one. So as that cooks off, that's good, and then we just start adding liquid. So it's going to wash the really big whisk because it gets a bit hot when it starts steaming as you add the liquid, to be having your hand inside the pot. And then we just start can't get what off. Alright, we're going to roll the pastry out, the pasta out, but first we're going to add some chicken to our white sauce. So we've got our white sauce, some cheese to the white sauce, and then the chicken. So we want like half a block, 500 grams, so like half of whatever you grated the whole block, yeah?
Yeah.
So 4 or 5 of those handfuls. 4 probably. Yeah, about that. And then we're just going to mix that through to melt in the residual heat. And
I just
then
put like one of those
like that.
Can I add the chicken?
Yeah, you can add the chicken if you want, yes. So we've got the cheese added in there. We're going to add the chicken, which Kavik wants to add.
How much are that?
The whole thing.
All of it.
Watch out, watch out, watch out!
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, it's alright. The mushrooms need to be added too. There's a bowl of mushrooms here.
They'd be easier for you. Less mushrooms to add.
Watch what you're doing, you're spreading it everywhere.
That's
Get
kind
a
of my thing.
wooden spoon or a spatula or something. Mushrooms. Yep. And then
A little bit more.
we'll add some of the caramelized onion.
Let me bring the bowl closer.
Maybe like so some caramel. And do you want to grab some of the bacon bits out of the freezer too? So some caramelized onion.
That's kind of gross.
And we will add some of the pre-cooked bacon bits that I did as well.
What are you supposed to do?
This is going to be chicken lasagna.
Chicken.
Oh, sorry. Now, I probably should have pulled some of the white sauce out before I added all the chicken and stuff to be the top layer of white sauce, but you know, that's life.
There's some clumps. So
You should be able to just break them up in your hand over the thing. They'll break up in here, in the heat.
how much?
2 more of those. So whole bunch of the bacon. Yeah. Whole bunch of bacon bits in there as well, and we've got our white chicken mix. Now you could have this with any kind of pasta. We're going to make it into lasagna because we can, but that is the base of our lasagna. All right, the pasta, we've just got a piece. I've just rolled it roughly out to run through at the biggest. We've got the KitchenAid attachment. It's not the KitchenAid brand, but it's a pasta attachment on the KitchenAid, except I forgot that the last one I had, the highest number was, I don't remember. I had to adjust the texture of the pasta dough a little bit. It had sat since yesterday and it sort of was oily. I'm not entirely sure why, but it was. So I stuck it back in the Thermomix with an extra egg and a half a cup of flour, and we've got a better texture. So I'm just rolling it out. I hand roll it out to get a bit of a point on it so that it feeds into the machine better. And then we run it through the machine at the widest setting. He is eating it, which is, it's still a little bit, it's still being a little bit titchy. The dough is, it's just getting stuck. I'm not entirely sure why it's not running as smoothly as it normally does. This is only the second time I've used this new roller though, so I'm wondering if it's just something, a bit of a, it keeps on getting caught on the pasta dough. Darryl's standing here and asked if maybe it's the KitchenAid on its way out, and we have been discussing the fact that the KitchenAid's not working real well, but I don't know what I would replace it with if I replaced it with something, because as a mixer, the KitchenAid's not great. It's too small for a lot of the stuff I do, but I do like having the option to have some of these attachments on it that I don't have on anything else. And like pasta, I don't make pasta very often anymore, but I do like to make it. And do I really want a single-use tool to make pasta if I buy a single-use mixer? I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but anyway, run it through to the thinnest setting, and then we're just cutting it to length, and I'll come back when I'm putting the lasagna together. We're running really low on battery, so we're going to quickly throw this together. We need to put, we've got one piece of pastry, the pasta that I think we're going to need that's all pieced together because I ran a little bit short. But first we're just going to put a thin layer of sauce on the bottom of the dishes that we lay the pastry on. Just to give it moisture and steaming for the pasta to cook. So we're just going to put a really thin layer down first, and then Sonnet can come and put pasta down. Yeah, so you might only need 2 per, so that's all right, we got plenty then. 2 per plate, and then I need something better to scoop this with because this is taking too long. But do we have another, like a measuring?
There was a scoop Dad was using before when he was scooping out his food, but I don't know why.
Do you know where the scoop is that you use to fill your bowl, Darryl?
I might have taken it out of the sink back soon.
Sink maybe? Because it was dirty.
So putting a slightly thicker layer. And then another layer, and we're going to repeat, and then on the top we will put some more of the cheese that's on it already grated on the top, and then we'll put them in the oven. Now the tomatoes are done, so they can come out, and then these can go in. So I'll bring you back once we've done stuff. No. So all the tomatoes are done. We've got some browning on the top, which I like the charring flavour, but it's they're not underneath, but they're all nice and juicy and roasted. So we're going to put these in a container for now because I'll can them tomorrow because I'm not doing it right now because it is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'll get these in a container. They can go in the fridge. I will can these tomorrow. We'll only get a few quarts out of this. I think it's only 3 or 4 quarts out of this, but it gives me those to use for a myriad of other things when I want some roasted tomatoes. So that's fine. We'll puree them up. Or actually, I don't think I pureed them up last time. I think I just smashed them into the jars, puree them when I need them. So we're going to get these in the container and then we'll pull the lasagnas out. Here is our white chicken lasagnas. We get a container for Nana and we can put some. Now, obviously, like all lasagnas, the longer it sits, the easier it'll be to get out in a nice piece, but it's dinner time. So, you know, and I think it's pretty wet still. Yeah, it's all going to slide off, but it's going to taste amazing. So this is our white chicken lasagna making a mess. So, all right, last thing I need to do is shape the dough to go in the fridge to bake tomorrow. I've got the 2 loaves. They look nice and bubbly. Probably could go a little bit longer. It's really hard to tell. I was going to transfer them to something square so I could have a look at the proof a little better, but I didn't. So we will see how they go. I'm going to cook them in loaf pans tomorrow. I'm definitely going to say it needs longer. It's been a bit cool today, and I had, like, the bulk proof has been extensive, but it's been cool. That definitely, I don't know. I'm going to shape it, I'm going to stick it in the fridge, and then tomorrow I will put it in the sandwich tins and I will see if I think it needs a bit longer. It definitely feels a little underproofed. So just going to make it work though. A little bit of semolina on our liners, and then placed like that, wrapped up in the fridge for the night. You'd probably leave it on the bench, mind you, same temperatures, and I'll just see what happens tomorrow. So playing with the dough, it's food. Stop playing with the dough. Stop. Sonnet.
The lasagna was really good.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like it's holding its shape better.
Yeah, it definitely does when you let it chill.
I'm running out of the conditioner.
Okay. This one's the whole wheat one, and it feels a little more proofed. So we shall see. All right, now we're going to put the lasagna away as well. These will go in the fridge, and I'll be back tomorrow. One last thing, I just thought I'd show you that my starter has, like, well and truly taken off. So this was the starting line, and it is at the top of the jar. So I could theoretically mix something up that would proof overnight, except that it won't proof overnight out here because it's too cold. So I'm just going to leave it. But that's how quickly the starter is working. So it's very healthy. All right, Sunday morning. Kids found a stash of 71 eggs yesterday. So we are having Dutch baby for breakfast because it uses 18 eggs. I also cooked off the sourdough loaves. So this one looks really good. When I cut them open, I'll be able to tell which one was wholemeal and which one wasn't, because I didn't. The other one, I didn't cut quite deep enough and hasn't sprung quite as well. I think I couldn't find a spare blade for my lame, so I was using a steak knife, and I just don't think I cut that one quite deep enough, but they both turned out quite well. So we're going to have Dutch baby for breakfast, and then I'll have to figure out what I'm getting done for the morning. All right, so Mum came down to help me with the pears that needed peeling. So we've peeled all the pears, chopped them all up. We have 4 containers of cores and peel that I will turn into pear scrap syrup or jelly or something. I have got some pectin at the moment, so I could make it into a jelly, or I could make it into just a syrup that we can use with the slushy machine or with ice cream or whatever. So we will boil that down. I've got light syrup on the stove at the moment. So we've got a gallon of water to 2 cups of, so 8 cups of water to 2 cups of sugar. And then we've got the Fowler's 31s is the ones I'm going to do them in, because they're nice wide jars for getting stuff in. I'm not entirely sure how many we'll need, so we're just going to see how much goes into each jar, and then pour the canning syrup over the top. There is some lemon juice in these already because we put it on there to stop them from browning. And you can add more if you want. It will help with maintaining colour when it's canned, but you don't have to, and there is a fair bit on this already. So once the sugar is dissolved, we'll just pour the syrup over the jars, and then we'll get them sealed up and we'll get them canned. I don't know what the canning time is on it. It's probably 20 minutes. I'll have a look before I do it. But yeah, we're just going to pack them in fairly firm because they will float and shrink a little bit when you can them. So I like to pack them in pretty firm to start with so that we get a whole jar full. Right, so we ended up with what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 jars, which means I'm going to need to run 2 canners to fit them all. Oops. We've got them, as I said, they're loaded pretty full because everything will shrink down. So we don't want to waste space. We've got this syrup, and all I'm going to do is grab a funnel to limit the amount of sugar getting on the rims of the jars. I reckon it's not going to be enough syrup though for that amount of jars. I didn't really know how many jars I was doing, because that was what, 1.5 cups of liquid maybe, and we only did 10 cups of liquid, and there's 16 here. I might just add some more water to this because it can just be an extra light syrup instead of a light syrup. The pears are more than sweet enough to not need the extra sugar. So can you fill another half-gallon jar up, please? And we will just water. We'll just do it as an extra light syrup rather than a light syrup. And then we'll just take the liquid to the shoulder, we'll put lids on them, and we'll can them. And just keep going. Right, Sonnet has run a paper towel with vinegar around the rims of the jars for me. And now we're going to put the rubber rings on the Fowler's jars. So we have our rubber rings. These are a size 4. The jars are a 31, so they take a size 4 lid and size 4 lid and ring. So you just want to make sure that they're not twisted, and then I run a little bit more vinegar on the edge because I've just had my hands on them to make sure that there's no grease. Now, I did find someone sent me a while back some single-use lids, and I've got a brand new box here, and I'm just going to use them because I have them here. I also ordered myself some new clips, so I have some old ones and some new ones, and we're just going to clip all the phallus jars. Now, I did have a couple of ball mason jars as well, so again the same thing. Sonnet has done the vinegar, but I'm just double checking. I've got some, they are not full brand.
You're the one with the snail.
Yeah, some ball mason lids and bands for
Really fluffy.
those
Those winter coats.
jars as well. So we've now got the ball mason jars and we've got the phallus jars, and we're just going to spread them between the two canners as needed to can them. I haven't looked up the time yet. I will mention that in a minute. My mic's nearly flat, so I need to charge it, but this is the big pot of all the scraps. It will cook down pretty quickly, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the last of the extra light syrup was in the bottom. I'm going to put a quart of water in here as well. I'm going to start it on a low heat and a simmer so that some of this breaks down, and then I'll add more water as we go. We want all of it covered in water, preferably. I do have a pot the next size up somewhere, but I'm just not sure exactly where it is.
We get it to every pan.
But I'll see how I go. Found the bigger pot, so this will make it easier. So it's about half full with all the scraps, and then we've got water almost to the top. I'll bring it up to a simmer, add a bit more water if needed, and then we'll let it simmer for as long as I let it simmer, and then we'll strain it. We'll add sugar and lemon juice to the liquid, and I can either add pectin or I can just make it a syrup, whatever I want. But for the moment, it just needs to be out of this fruit, all the flavour. Before my battery runs out, this is what the bread, so this is the one that I didn't cut quite enough, but inside still looks pretty good. And this one had a better oven spring on it. Now, I want to say that I have no idea which one had whole wheat in it, because I didn't really take notice, but this one definitely oven sprung better. I don't know whether that was just the cut or whether there's like one, I don't know. We'll have to actually do a proper test, but both of them are very edible, so this is lunch today. All right, it is, I don't have my watch on, like 3:30, I think. And I'm pooped. I've had enough for the day. I really have. All the pears are canned, so I ended up steam canning them in the pressure canner. Equivalent of water bath canning them for 30 minutes was for a quart size, so that's what I did. They all look really good, and the jars stayed fairly nice and full, which is really nice. It doesn't always happen if you pack them without simmering them in the liquids. There's a couple that have some floating, I don't know what I think it's the camera shadowing things. A couple that have some floating with some empty liquid in the bottom, but most of them are still pretty full. We roasted up the last of the boxes of tomatoes, so we got another 2 trays of tomatoes roasted up that will be added to the ones I roasted yesterday, and I will can them tomorrow when they're all cold. So we'll let these cool before we add them to that container or into a different container, whichever way it works. We'd run out of chili oil, so I did whip up a batch of chili oil, so we did that. The syrup, the scrap syrup simmered for, I want to say like an hour. I let it simmer for 45 minutes to an hour. And now I'm just letting it steep. So I tend to let it steep before I strain it so that any sort of flavours from the skins and everything can be in that liquid. So I'm going to let it steep for the moment. Then we will strain it, we'll measure the liquid out, and we'll add the sugar and stuff accordingly. But again, I'm probably going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to throw in, there was 2 trays of lasagna made yesterday, only one got eaten, so I'm going to throw the spare tray in the oven for dinner tonight. Really nice and simple. And yeah, pretty much that's it for me for today.
So I will be back tomorrow.